Okay, I wanted to upload a video today. It was going to be something in regards to gameplay, but it ended up not becoming that. So I thought that I would probably just yap a little bit
Oh, damn, the squishy as
and
hell.
mix some things up together. So originally, what my game plan was gonna be was to play some Baldur's Gate 3 and have a specific modded run. So what I ended up doing was trying to figure out what it was I wanted to put together, and I decided to go for a modded run where I used the Viltrumite race mod because the Invincible season at the time had ended fairly recently, and I ended up catching up to it and had a pretty good time watching it and seeing what was going on, and thought that it was actually really cool, and I really did enjoy it. But after it ended, I just wanted to play through Baldur's Gate 3 and actually finish it for once because I never actually finished it, and ended up downloading the Invincible Race mod and decided to make a character to run with it. In that process, I also ended up downloading the Cyberpunk armor mod for Panam, where you can dress like Panam and they have a bunch of her different designs and clothes and accessories and whatnot. And then I also downloaded Slay the Spire as a class mod and downloaded like a halberd weapon mod to put halberds into the game. And that was just going to be my overall setup for a modding experience. But some things happened. So I guess I will talk about some of those things now. So, for example, um, the halberd mod did not throw the halberds in the game randomly and openly. Uh, at least at the time, not that I saw. I think you could get them if you were like going to a shop, at a random shop in a game, and speaking to a random NPC. But that was not something that I had too much intention on doing, so I wasn't really planning to do it. In that case, I was just going to start my character off with a halberd, but you get options between these really strong ones and these fairly strong ones. And I ended up going for the fairly strong to try to keep it balanced, but I got a little bit of a taste of the Viltrumite mod and ended up going for one of the really strong ones instead. So I had this little gameplay run where I was a Viltrumite using a halberd, and I had the Slay the Spires class mod. The halberd was pretty overpowered, so that alone, no matter what class I was using, I feel like probably would have one-shotted a lot of whatever it was I was fighting. And I've never really played Slay the Spire. I believe I have one of them, but I have a friend who plays it pretty heavily, and so I figured I might as well add it to my overall game experience to see what it is I could change and see what it is that could be different. And in the process of running the Slay the Spire class mod, there was just a lot that I was kind of figuring out about the game itself while playing, or at least I want to say I was figuring out about the game. So I thought it was pretty interesting. Okay, so I'll try to break some things down here. The B-roll footage might not necessarily match that because I think this was during a different recording when I was testing out mods and not when I was actually having the run, like the modded playthrough. But basically, the halberd had like 5 or 6 different versions of itself where it was like probably five. I don't want to call them normal halberds because they were enchanted with things, but then there were like 5 equally overpowered versions of those normal ones as well. Like the starting damage was strong enough to one shot like majority of whatever it is you fought in Act One. I believe. I could be wrong, but I remembered it being pretty high, and I was like, "Oh, this is crazy." So I ended up using it, right? Because I figured go big or go home. But it didn't really matter that much because the Viltrumite mod ended up being extremely powerful. Um, but it was also really cool, and that was something that kind of pulled my attention. So what I was expecting was, excuse me, maybe I'd get some bonuses towards the race. I'd be able to have a little bit of strength, a little bit of like having the ability to fly, maybe a little damage boost with my hands, something like that. But this Viltrumite race mod went like above and beyond, bro. I had the ability to fly. When I flew, my arms were crossed, so I was levitating while I flew, and that is always like the coolest thing because it really gave me like the vibe that I was a Viltrumite. And while levitating and flying in that kind of fashion, it seemed pretty fun. But what I did not expect were some of the extra things that came with it. So, for example, I had armor, Viltrumite armor. I believe it was Invincible's armor, Oliver's armor, the standard Viltrumite's armor, and then the Grand Regent's armor, which would be Thrag's. And those were all of the armor choices I believe that came with the mod at that time. Um, Other than that, I had some attacks that came with the race, like by default, where I could grab enemies and like suplex them and pretty much one shot damn near anything. In fact, the big bosses in tutorial that have really high health, I hit them with that suplex technique and killed them almost instantly. So that let me know that that was pretty overpowered. And while using the so what had happened was the halberd would be sitting in my hand, but I'd be floating with my arms crossed, so it looked like the halberd was piercing, my body while I was floating, and it just looked like I was stabbing myself, which was kind of just not cool. It kind of threw me off of the immersion of it all. And I'm sure there's a mod or some kind of setup to make it so the halberd would rest on my back as I moved, but I wasn't really, looking too deep into something like that, considering I was just playing the game. But knowing that, like, the extra attacks that came with just being a Viltrumite were probably about as strong as an overpowered modded weapon would be, it kind of just let me know that I could have a run without the modded weapon and kind of fit like the general vibe of running around as a Viltrumite. So that's what I decided to do. But before then, I was running also with Pan Am's gear, and it looks cool. It was super nice, but with the general run, figuring out that I actually had a fit for Viltrumites, I figured my next run should actually just have the full Viltrumite combo. So there I was running the Viltrumite gear, the Viltrumite, like just going weaponless, and using their moves, but I didn't really have a Viltrumite based class that was modded. And there are some classes that are modded that could kind of fit in, like Kryptonians or like the Homelander class. And there may be an Invincible or even like an Omni-Man kind of class. But at the time, I didn't see any like Viltrumite-based classes. So what I decided to do was kind of keep it simple. Go back, equip like a warrior of sorts, if not a fighter, and move through there. And that's kind of been my like overall playthrough thus far. But I haven't really made any real waves with it, and I've kind of just been chilling on it while running through the game because I've been taking breaks and hopping into other games as well and running those other games. So I've kind of just been all over the place, as you've probably seen with stuff like Femboy Fuda House and some of my other uploads. But I wanted to talk about that a little bit because I do have some of these recordings of some of my Baldur's Gate 3 kind of like pre-runs or stuff where I'm kind of just on and moving around and doing stuff like trying to make a character or looking around at different things that could be offered, and it's kind of just like the equivalent of opening up the game and leaving it open, right? There's not like a whole bunch there to see or to look into or anything of that sort. So I figured I might as well upload some of that footage and just kind of talk about where my journey was heading and somewhat what I've gotten to. So it's like I said, it's not really going to be shown in this clip, but I did make a Viltrumite. Like I said, I used the standard warrior. I don't think it was a fighter. I think it was a warrior. And I have been running with Viltrumite like apparel. I didn't really use a mod that would let me like transmog anything on top of anything. I was thinking about potentially doing that because I don't think the Viltrumite gear gives you any special abilities or upgrades or powers or anything like that. And I think having enchanted gear would be pretty cool. And I am running a mod that kind of re-rolls everything that you get while you're playing the game. That way it's kind of like a different experience altogether. And I just thought that would be fun. And so far, it has been kind of fun cosplaying a Viltrumite. I haven't, I kind of thought about it a little ways through, but I was wondering if I should go the Dark Urge, and I was thinking, probably not. But some of the answer choices that I thought about, like picking while playing so far in Act 1, I kind of felt like wouldn't have been like as related to a Viltrumite. So my overall like playthrough has been a little different, and I'll probably end up uploading it when like I am actually in it and doing more. But just in this moment, or in the last probably week or so, I've just been everywhere, playing every little different thing and juggling some things in like my day-to-day, which I will probably give updates about later on when I actually get to talking about them. Right now in this moment, it's just not the biggest thing to me right now. You know, I'm just kind of posting whatever it is. I feel like posting and what I think some people might actually want to see and or hear, and just kind of mixing it with my typical like day-to-day gameplay experiences. So yeah, I just wanted to give a little bit of an update on all of that and kind of give you an idea of like where my head's been with it, and if anybody's been kind of curious about my Baldur's Gate 3 runs, which I doubt anybody has been, but if you have been, you know, that's the status of them all. It's more so like I haven't forgotten about them. I just haven't really been running them much at all with the other games I've been running, the other stuff I've been figuring out, and some kind of like day-to-day life stuff that I've been doing as well. But yeah, I think that's probably all for right now. Thanks for listening to me out. Bye.